Okay, so do you think like it's relative, or is there absolute truth out there, or is truth is like what you make of it, or what do you think about that?
I think there's some gray area there. I mean, there's obviously stuff that's completely false, but there are other areas that I think there's some leeway for whether it's truth or not truth.
Okay.
Duty has to do with moral obligation, what I ought or ought not to do.
You see, you can't live that out. Because if you do me dirty, I'm going to look you in the face and say, sir, you should not have treated me that way. My wife will look me in the face and say, Cliff, you ought not to have said that to me. Well, whenever you use the word should, ought, you're appealing to a standard outside of you and me and saying, come on, Cliff, buck up and smell the coffee, Jack. You just violated justice when you said that demeaning thing to me. You're absolutely right, sir. All of us have consciences. And that's why an atheist has no excuse to run away from God, because God is obviously a moral lawgiver who's created real objective morality and given us consciences and rational minds that we can understand that objective morality.
If we think that objective moral values do exist, then we shall be led logically to the conclusion that God exists.
September 11th happened, the people on the plane thought that, what they believed, like, crashing into the Twin Towers, that they were right. They put their faith in, in that, and they thought they were going to heaven. So is there an absolute truth in this world? Like, is there, or it's like, because if what they thought was right, do you guys think, was that right, or is it up to them? Is there an absolute truth that, that says this is right, this is wrong?
Well, I think things like that are always just going to be relative between cultures, and you mentioned that that's kind of the September 11th. They were kind of like an extreme kind of side of the Muslim faith there. But I think everything's just relative, and what someone believes, someone else is going to disagree with, no matter who you are or where you come from. That's just who we are as a human race. I don't think we're just so different and diverse in our cultures and our customs. If there is an absolute truth, I think it's something that cause some friction between some people, definitely.
Definitely.
Well, to say that objective moral values exist is to say that something is right or wrong independently of whether anybody believes it or not. So, for example, to say that the Holocaust was objectively wrong is to say that it was wrong, even though the Nazis who carried it out thought that it was right, and it would still be wrong even if the Nazis had won World War II and succeeded in brainwashing or exterminating everybody who disagreed with them, so that everybody thought the Holocaust was right. And the claim is that in the absence of God, moral values are not objective in that sense.
I'm going to ask this question. Regardless of our religion, regardless of the standards of morality that we hold, are we capable of obeying those standards which we have prescribed for ourselves? I'm not now referring to any transcendent person, God, who gives us standards, but I'm talking about our problem, because our question today is, can we be moral without God?
So, to believe then that God does not exist and that there is no moral accountability would be quite literally demoralizing, in the sense that we have no reason to think that our moral choices are ultimately significant, since both our fate and that of the universe would be the same regardless of what we do.
There's no way that, someone can honestly have a good conscience and say that, just flat out murdering an innocent person is right. There's something within us that's beyond our culture, it's beyond our society that says that this is wrong. And is that truth? Is that a moral objective that, someone beyond a human has instilled in us that makes us qualify these attributes and say that this is wrong, this is right?
On the other hand, if we hold, as it seems rational to do, that objective moral values and duties do exist, then we have good grounds for believing in the existence of God. In addition, we have powerful practical reasons for embracing theism in light of the morally bracing effects that belief in God has for the moral life due to moral accountability.
Okay, so do you believe like truth is relative or is truth absolute? Like, is there like a universal truth, or is it relative based on your own feelings?
I think it's a relative truth because everybody believes different things, and not everything can be, because everybody, even if Christians or like Catholics have the same, none of them have the exact same like. What did you call it? Relative truth? Yeah, but so I think it's different. Everybody thinks truth is different.
Now, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, the whole moral duty of man can be summed up in the two great commandments. First, you shall love the Lord your God with all your strength, and with all your soul, and with all your heart, and with all your mind. And secondly, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On this basis, we can affirm the objective rightness of love, generosity, self-sacrifice, and equality, and condemn as objectively wrong selfishness, hatred, abuse, discrimination, and oppression.
God is good. Good is the opposite of evil. Evil is not infinite. Therefore, good cannot be infinite. How can you say God, who is the ultimate reality, be good, be the standard of morality?
I do not know why God allowed evil and suffering. For thousands of years, philosophers and theologians, far more intelligent than I am, have struggled with that question. They've never come up with an ultimate answer. And Jesus and the Bible do not answer the question, why did God allow evil? But, as a Christian, I have to think. First point, now follow this line of thinking. If there is no God, there are no objective morals. They're subjective morals, but not objective morals. Point two, evil exists. All right, that's the point of your friend. Evil exists. How can there be a God if evil exists? So second point is, evil exists. Third point is, because evil exists, objective morals exist. And then fourth point is, because objective morals exist, there's got to be a God. There's got to be someone, in other words, who creates and defines the value of goodness in contradiction to evil.
If God does not exist, then it's difficult to see why human beings are special, or their morality is objectively true. On a naturalistic view, moral values are just the byproducts of biological evolution and social conditioning.
One of the common facts between humanists and evolutionist behavioral scientists I'm talking about, would be the whole issue of individual instinct. You feel this way. You intuitively feel that this is right and that is wrong. I definitely agree with that. I think there is a place for intuition, although intuition may not always be the right guide, because we know that sometimes our intuitions can lead us astray.
The state torturers in Soviet prisons understood this all too well. Richard Wurmbrand, who was tortured for his faith, reports, "The cruelty of atheism is hard to believe when man has no faith in the reward of good or the punishment of evil. There is no reason to be human. There is no restraint from the depths of evil which is in man." The communist torturers often said, "There is no God, no hereafter, no punishment for evil. We can do what we wish." I have heard one torturer even say, "I thank God, in whom I don't believe, that I have lived to this hour when I can express all the evil in my heart." He expressed it in unbelievable brutality and torture inflicted on prisoners.